Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. This is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich with an update on what is now officially Tropical Storm Nate. We can actually give it a name, but it's still a weak system. The winds are only 40 miles an hour. Remember, the difference between a tropical depression and a tropical storm are literally 4 miles per hour. It was 35-mile-an-hour winds last night. Today it perked up to 39 or at least 40. They round up. That makes it a tropical storm. But you can see it doesn't look like much on the satellite because it's right on the coast of Nicaragua. This is the coast of Nicaragua right here. There is some banding, but it's going to struggle to do much today because of the interaction with the land. It had a chance last night. The water was really warm where it was. There was low shear. It just did not get its act together, which is kind of interesting. Doesn't mean it's not going to produce life-threatening floods for Central America. It just means the winds aren't going to ramp up anytime soon. Let me show you the latest forecast track. You can see the center there, pretty much right on the coast of Nicaragua. It's going to cross over land and stay over land for most of today and tonight, and then it's going to reemerge over the Western Caribbean. It looks like sometime late tonight or early tomorrow morning. There will be a small window here where it could strengthen a little bit, but remember, it's still interacting with a lot of land here. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Then it could interact with more land as it moves over the Yucatan Peninsula. Then it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, and here's where things get interesting because while on the surface, you would think it would get really strong here because the water's really warm, especially right in here. Water's cooler up here, but there would be a window sometime between, you're talking 2 a.m. on Saturday morning to about 2 a.m. on Sunday morning. There would be a window there of about 24 hours where it could strengthen pretty quickly into a Category 1, maybe a Category 2 storm, and then it's going to move north and weaken pretty quickly as it moves west of the Appalachians. So that's what we're going to watch as it moves over the Gulf. You can see the probabilities of tropical storm force winds. The highest threat now heading towards Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Gulf Coast, and our threat for tropical storm force winds is almost negligible. It's not even really there. Let me show you the models. I'm going to throw these on top. And you can see, if anything, the models have shifted west of all the other track guidance. Let me turn off the wind field there. Make it a little bit easier. So you can see the cone, but notice that all the spaghetti plots have actually shifted to the west side of the cone. So we might see a further west shift in the track, which would mean this would go further west in the Gulf and also deter wind impacts here. It doesn't deter the rain impacts for us because, remember, this thing is spinning counterclockwise, so there's a big plume of moisture which is coming in, so there will be rain all in this area. That's a pretty safe bet. What I think is interesting and what's causing some of the toughness in the forecast and what may keep this weak is that thing over Florida we talked about. We've got that little low and this big plume of moisture. You can see it spinning there. Here's our system down here. This is actually Nate, but this thing is actually causing quite a bit of issues because it's moving due west. And what I think is going to happen is as it moves west, it's going to be here for a while. And as Nate comes up, it's going to interact with it somehow. This is actually creating some wind shear, which could help deter or weaken part of Nate as it gets into the Gulf. So while we talked about how warm the water is there, the fact that this thing is in the area might disrupt the flow and kind of be a headache for Nate to get much stronger, which would be good news overall. But it also could help swing it back to the west more, or it could interact and we could get that Fujiwara and it could kick it east. So that's the thing that I'm still a little puzzled about, is how the interaction with this low is going to influence not only the track of Nate, but its intensity. I think I could see an instance where this could actually cause the storm to stay weaker, but if it stays far enough away, we still got the potential we could see some rapid intensification. You could see over the western U.S., here comes our trough, which is digging in here. The high is here. So here's our flow. So you can see the window is right here. This thing is going somewhere in here, but the shift has been back towards this way. Especially as this moves west, it's allowing the ridge to build back this way, which is causing that western shift and to push the system further west. Looking at some of the other guidance, this is the Ensembles. You can see the official forecasts from last night was actually here, but the new models are coming in well to the west of there. And you can see a lot of them have kind of taken Florida out of play. Now remember one thing, we are still going to get a ton of rain from this. That's the big story with this. This is not going to be a wind maker for the Carolinas. This is going to be a rain maker. So as we go through time, we'll go through Saturday morning, we'll go through Saturday afternoon. By Saturday night, we start to see the rain move in. And by Sunday morning, the rain starts breaking out, especially in the mountains. So the mountains, you stand to get the biggest rain because remember, the flow is going to be coming in like this. And the mountains act like a stationary front, lift that air and cause rain to develop there. And that's why the mountains will end up with the most rain. So while I'm fairly confident we're going to see some rain for the race on Sunday, if there's a glimmer of hope, it's that the rain would be confined to the mountains and we would have lesser amounts over the Piedmont, at least until later in the day when the rain chances really ramp up. And you can see going into early next week, the rain chances are pretty heavy. But there's a tight gradient. You can see the heaviest rain, 3, 4, maybe 5 inches in parts of the mountains, and only maybe 1 to 2 across the Piedmont. So that's the latest. I'd love to say there's more that I can tell you, but there is a western shift in all of the track guidance. That's pretty clear. We'll have to see if that trend continues. One thing of note today, Hurricane Hunter's obviously going in, but there'll be an upper air mission over Florida and parts of the Gulf to sample the upper atmosphere for steering, and all of this upper air stations in Florida will do a special sounding. So there will be more data going into the afternoon runs and the evening runs of the models, hopefully. It looks like the evening runs. I don't think they'll make it into the afternoon runs. And that'll be interesting to see what that happens with the track guidance as well. And I think this thing is the big player right here. This is going to be the big player we watch, this thing over Florida, over the next couple of days. Have a great day, everybody.